How's it going, y'all? Conrad Sports Cards here. Once again, you already know how it is. And this is, of course, the second part of my 2020-2021 NBA predictions for the season, of course, right? In this video, we're going to be doing the Western Conference. And also, before I get too in-depth, my family is watching TV upstairs. I'm hoping it's not too loud, but, I'm literally right above the TV, or right below the TV, because I'm in the basement. So I'm praying that it's not too loud for you guys, but maybe it is. I'm not completely sure. But as always, once again, just the same sheet of paper. I've got my notes. Let's just get straight into it. So the worst team in the league, in my opinion, will be the Sacramento Kings. This team is honestly god-awful, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're the worst team in the NBA. They have De'Aaron Fox, who's a very nice young up-and-coming guard, but the issue comes with fit. You have Marvin Bagley and Hassan Whiteside currently at the 4 and 5 positions, and neither of them can stretch the floor. Plus, Marvin Bagley, while he is impactful while he's healthy, he really tends to not be healthy, and that's a big, big issue, right? In 2 years in the league, I don't think he's even played more than 90 games, which is ridiculous. Actually, has he even played a full season's worth of games? I want to say he played 62 games in his first season and then 13 last season, which would be 75 games total, which isn't even enough for a full 82 NBA schedule. That's ridiculous. And even if he does get injured, I guess they replace him with either Nemanja Bjelica, who wouldn't be bad, or Rashawn Holmes, who can't space the floor either. They also do have Harrison Barnes, who's a nice 3-and-D option for them at the wing. And then they have Buddy Hield, who does also do have some floor spacing as well. But it's kind of similar to the Philadelphia 76ers in the fact that those two guys isn't going to be good enough to really help De'Aaron Fox. To really help him. Well, it's not going to be good enough to create enough space for him to get into the lane because you have two of your biggest guys sitting there in the post or, sitting down low, right? It's just not going to help him when he has to create at the basket, which is where he got a lot of his shots from last season. If he does happen to improve on his three-point shot, then this team will be higher, but I don't know if I can expect him to do so. At number 14 in the league, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, this team's not going to be great. They're rebuilding, but they still have a couple of nice pieces, right? They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have Lou Gentz. I still don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to go with Lou Gentz-Dort. Darius Bazley. They have Al Horford, who is honestly underrated at this point as far as the center position goes. And, that's really it as far as their significant pieces go. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I expect him to probably be averaging 23 to 25 points a game. Al Horford will be putting in another solid 15 or so as well with great defense and some good rebounding. And then, it's just kind of waiting for the young guys to take a step up. Maybe this team is worse than the Kings, but I'm not completely sure about that, right? I don't know for sure what to expect from this Kings team. It's 50-50 for me. Once again, they could both be replaced, but at the moment, that's what I'm going to be sticking with. At number 13, I have the San Antonio Spurs. What can I say, man? This team just really needs to rebuild. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge just are getting up there in age. DeMar DeRozan can't space a floor whatsoever, and they don't exactly have a lot of guys that can do that on this team. But they have a nice young core, right? They have Keldon Johnson. They have Derek White, who they really gave a massive contract to, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but we can get into that later. They also have DeJounte Murray, who provides really good defense at the point guard spot. And then they have some other nice pieces like Lonnie Walker and potentially Trey Jones. But once again, nothing really significant that's going to take them over the edge and place them among the upper echelon of teams in the NBA. Not even in the NBA, but the upper echelon of teams that won't make the playoffs this season. The West is just loaded, man. At number 12, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're good, but they're not good enough, right? Their biggest issue, of course, is defense, and they didn't improve upon that this season. I don't know what's going to happen with Malik Beasley because apparently he's been pleading guilty to gun charges or something like that. I don't know what's going to happen to him. Is he going to be banned from the league for a year? Is he going to go to prison? I have absolutely no idea. And then they also have Anthony Edwards, who's just not a good fit for them. He's still a bit of a project, and if he's not the main option, he's going to struggle, in my opinion. And this team just did not improve almost whatsoever defensively. Edwards is a nice piece for them as far as defense goes at the guard position, but he's not amazing, at least not at the moment, right? As time goes on, he can improve. But this is specifically talking about next season, and next season he's not going to be anywhere near a top defender in the NBA. So this team just really should have, I think, traded back and taken Onyeka Okongwu, but they didn't. And I don't think that this team gets any better, and eventually Karl-Anthony Towns is going to demand a trade. I think he's kind of sick of trying to wait for contending for a playoff spot. And above them at number 11, I have the Houston Rockets. Now, this is, of course, assuming that James Harden gets traded, which I think we can expect at this point. If it doesn't happen, though, this team's going to be a playoff team for sure. But this team is actually, I think, going to surprise some people, even if he does get traded. First of all, it depends, of course, what they get back. But even without him, they have John Wall, who looks pretty good. I'm expecting like 17-6 with some solid defenses, most likely what's going to happen. DeMarcus Cousins, of course, is going to put in his near double-double with some nice playmaking and, once again, good defense. His biggest concern, of course, is just staying healthy, though. I'm afraid he might get injured again. That's just how he's traditionally been throughout his entire career. Christian Wood is a stud, but he's definitely not a number one option, like on a championship contender or anything. But he can put in like a solid 20 points, some extra floor spacing, nice defense, good ball handling. He's a very well-rounded player for the team, but he's not going to take them to that next level. And then they also have some other nice pieces as well, PJ Tucker, Ben McLemore, all of those guys. Chris Clemens, I believe, is on this team as well. But once again, they just don't have a superstar if James Harden gets traded to really take them over the edge, especially in a loaded Western Conference. At number 10, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. This was difficult for me, and I'm gonna keep saying that because once again, this Western Conference is so loaded. It's loaded, honestly. Any team after the Rockets, I don't think can make the playoffs, but that literally leaves 12 teams that I think could. Wait, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 12 teams that I think, sorry. But it does leave like 12 or 11 teams that I think could make the playoffs. Right? So it's really hard to choose, but I have to put the Memphis Grizzlies here. I do expect Jaren Jackson Jr. I do expect Ja Morant to, of course, make a nice sophomore season leap, but they didn't improve while a lot of other teams in this conference did. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be a nice piece for them. He supposedly grew 2 inches, so hopefully that helps him with his rebounding issues. But he still is a very foul-heavy player, right? He gets in a lot of foul trouble when he's playing, and that's a big concern with him. He has to improve upon that. Brandon Clark is currently coming off the bench, and I think that if he starts, they have a better chance of making the playoffs because I think it could potentially be a nice 3 for them, but they're not doing that this season. They also have Dylan Brooks, who's, solid. He's nothing exceptional. Nice kind of 3-and-D option. Nice scoring option for them. But once again, nothing exceptional. And then Jonas Valanciunas provides good defense, rim protection, good rebounding as well, and couldn't put in between 10 and 15 points a game, right? But once again, very well-rounded roster, but stars win championships, and, Ja's a star, but compared to everyone else, I just don't see it happening. And this one really hurt. Really, really hurt to do. But I have the Warriors as the 9th seed in the Western Conference, and some of you may be shocked by that. In fact, I'm kind of shocked that I'm doing this too, but I have to do it, right? They just have a lot of questions surrounding this team, right? Curry is coming off an injury, although I don't expect it to affect him too much. But James Wiseman is a bit of a project, in my opinion, at the center position, and rookies exactly aren't going to come in and average 20 points a game unless, of course, they're like Luka Doncic. But I don't expect them to make that big of a massive impact. Andrew Wiggins, is this finally the year he breaks out, or does he have yet another disappointing season? Kelly Oubre is not quite a second option on a contending team, maybe a third option, but they still don't have that second option in this case no matter what. Draymond Green is getting older and had a down year last year. Can he possibly, revitalize his career? Not his career, but can he possibly do better this season? And then they just have a lack of depth, right? They have Eric Paschall, who's kind of a nice sixth man, but other than that, it's really a drop-off as far as talent goes. I don't know what to expect from them, and so I just think it's safer to put them at 9 than to put them anywhere else, because the rest of these teams I'm confident could really contend for a playoff spot. At number 8, I have the... Whoa. Did you hear that weird thing that happened in my throat? Anyway, at number 8, I have the Utah Jazz. People are really underrating this team. They were the number 4 seed last year and only fell to 6 or 7 in, I think it was 6th in the West, because they didn't have 20 point per game scorer in Bojan Bogdanovic during the bubble, right? If they had him, they probably would have still been the 4th seed in the Western Conference. They just happened to fall a little bit, and they still went up 3-1 against this Denver Nuggets team. So honestly, number 8 might be a little bit low for them, but the rest of these teams are just really talented, and I'm not completely sure if, I can expect them to be that much higher. They did sign Rudy Gobert to a max extension, which honestly a lot of people are kind of making too big of a deal out of. But you have him, you have Donovan Mitchell, who is a superstar, who's an all-star at this point. We have to really see if he takes that next jump, which I do think that he will, from what I've been hearing, both from him and from other people talking, tweets and stuff like that. He does seem ready for the season, and I think he's going to take a nice leap this season, but... Mike Conley, I'm not completely sure what to expect from him. Joe Ingles is all right, but nothing amazing. If Bojan comes back still healthy and averages his 20 points a game, Jordan Clarkson still performs exceptionally well at the sixth-man position, then this team should be just fine and should still be a playoff team in the Western Conference, because they have a very nice balance between between defense and offense, and I really like to see that, and I think that's extremely important as far as winning goes. At number 7, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. There's a lot of questions with this team as far as Zion goes, but I don't think he's going to be as injury prone as, many people expect. He doesn't have a minutes restriction, so that means that the franchise shows a lot of faith in him. We've seen videos and pictures of him from like last season ending to now, and he's been slimmed down the entire time, which really gives me hope for him as far as this next season goes. And if he stays healthy, there's no doubt that the guy is a force, right? I think he'll average at least 25 points a game, and then you combine him with Brandon Ingram, Drew Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, Steven Adams, Josh Hart, J.J. Redick, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They have a very nice amount of depth and star power, right? The issue, of course, comes to fit, and so I'm not completely sure. They don't exactly have the best spacing. They have Lonzo Ball, who stretches the floor to an extent, and of course Brandon Ingram as well in their starting lineup. And then they have some shooters off of the bench, but they're off the bench, right? They're not getting a ton of minutes, so their impact may not be as felt for this team. And also they're just very young and inexperienced, so it's going to take some time before we really see them getting a lot higher, I think, as far as the rankings go, as far as how many games they win, right? Number 6, I have the Phoenix Suns. They finally make the playoffs. I don't think that you can count this team out. You have Chris Paul, who's a very nice leader for this team, takes a bit of the playmaking load off of Devin Booker, right? He also, provides some solid defense at the guard position to, make up for Devin Booker's lack of defense. Booker, of course, is going to be their number one scoring option, is an unbelievable scorer. And when you add Chris Paul to this team, it makes him all that more dangerous because you can't exactly double team him as often as you used to. Deandre Ayton coming back has a factor to play in there as well, right? You have him coming back, and if he, plays the full season, the guy's going to be good, both because I think it's time for him to take a leap, as far as age goes, as far as time goes in the league. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a bit of a leap, but also Chris Paul's a very good pick and roll point guard and helps improve his big men overall. It's just what he's done, right? He made DeAndre Jordan an all-star center, and I think we all know that he's not exactly an all-star center, right? They also have Mikal Bridges, who's very nice a wing defender for them, but he also spaces the floor. Jake Crowder was a much better three-point shooter last season, especially during the bubble. I don't know if he's going to do that again this season, but maybe he does. But he also provides very good defense at the 4 position. And then Cam Johnson, once again, another good 3-and-D option for them. They also have Dario Saric coming off the bench. They have, I believe his name, Jalen Smith. It's either Jalen or Jaden, and I'm not completely sure which one it is. I think it's Jalen. Coming off the bench as a nice backup center. I'd like to see him develop. He seems to be a very talented offensive big man. And so this team is a nice combination of, once again, defense, offense, and star power and depth, but they're just not on the level of some of these other teams in the Western Conference. At number 5, I have the Dallas Mavericks. A lot of people are going to be surprised by that, but first of all, I don't think that Kristaps Porzingis is going to stay healthy, and if he doesn't, then this team is screwed. Also, they're just still not exactly crazy good on defense, and besides Luka and KP, they don't exactly have any, really major names. They have Tim Hardaway Jr., they have Josh Richardson, but then after that, it's like Maxi Kleber and guys like that, right? I don't think that this team's going to win enough games to, be the 5th seed in the NBA, mainly because I don't think that Kristaps Porzingis is going to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, this team's probably the 3rd seed, but once again, I don't expect him to, and that's what I factor in when I'm, making these rankings. At number 4, I have the Portland Trail Blazers. People are criminally underrating this team. Criminally underrating this team. This team is unbelievable, right? You have Damian Lillard, who is your superstar point guard. You have CJ McCollum, who's a nice 3rd option. Their 2nd option is going to be Yusuf Nurkic at the center position, right? Combined, all 3 of those guys can average about 60 points a game, if not more. Then you have a nice 3 and great D option as far as Robert Covington goes, and then a nice defender at the 4 in Derrick Jones Jr. Off the bench, they have Anthony Simons. You have Gary Trent Jr., who's probably going to be in the 6th man of the year conversations. It'll be either him or Melo, Carmelo Anthony, who can once again average like 15 off the bench. You also have Zach Collins. You have Enes Kanter and Rodney Hood as well. This team has a lot of depth, a lot of guys that know their role and play it very well. My issue with this team, once again, is defense, so they don't have a lot of amazing defenders, but their offensive power is going to be unbelievable, and they still do have enough defense, I think, to get them by. The most important type of defender, I think you need great defenders at the 3/4 positions, because you can pretty much put a guy like Robert Covington on just about anyone in the league. Well, just about anywhere from like 1 through 3 or even 4. And I think that's really critical when you're going up against teams with a star guard or a star forward, because it helps you, stop their best player. At number 3, I have the Denver Nuggets. They're just crazy talented. You have Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., who hopefully takes a leap this season. Jamal Murray as well. My biggest issue, of course, is, Jamal Murray might be a bit of a ball hog, and that may lead to Michael Porter Jr. underperforming, but I guess we'll wait and see. Gary Harris is nice as far as defense goes, and then Paul Millsap, JaMychal Green provide some nice defense at the 4 position. Will Barton, I believe, is maybe coming off the bench, or Michael Porter Jr. is going to be starting at the 3. I'm not completely sure which one of those to expect, though, of course, and I factor that in when I'm talking about these teams. They still have, like, Bol, RJ Hampton, and I can't remember his name, but I think it's, like, Fernando Campazzo, for something like that. I don't remember his name, from Real Madrid. I don't expect him to be a star like some other people are thinking, but he's going to be a very nice playmaking guard for them off the bench, and can get some offense going when a guy like Nikola Jokic is off the floor. However, this team really did, losing out on Jeremy Grant, Torrey Craig, and I believe Mason Plumlee as well. Those are some very nice role players that they lost out on when they replaced them with young guys. So, of course, those young guys are going to take some time to develop. So I just don't think that they're going to be, maybe as good as people are expecting them to be this season. At number 2, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they won't be playing a ton throughout the regular season, but they'll still be playing enough, I think, to be the 2nd seed in the NBA. Serge Ibaka is a very nice defensive center for them, which was their biggest issue during the bubble, was, guarding Nikola Jokic. And it would have also been their biggest issue, guarding Anthony Davis. They also have Lou Will coming off the bench, who's a very nice 6th man, and Patrick Beverley's a nice starting point guard, but they did lose out on a little bit of depth as far as, like Landry Shamet and some of those guys go. But bringing in Luke Kennard will be very good as far as their replacing that amount of offense goes, right? At number 1, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. This team is just really good. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. They just re-signed Kyle Kuzma, who I really hate, really, really hate, but, I got to mention him. Who else do they have? Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, KCP, Alex Caruso. This team is just really good. I don't even know if I have to say anything else. This team's just extremely, extremely good. And they fit well together, which is also very important. So I'm going to put them at number 1. They could actually also fall to number 2, mainly because, there might be some load management with AD and LeBron, because they, of course, were just in the finals. So they have the shortest offseason out of anyone, and, LeBron James is 35, almost 36, I believe. Obviously, age might be a factor for him there, although he spends millions of dollars on his body, and he hasn't shown his age yet, so maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. The next video will be about the playoffs. I do hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, feel free to hit subscribe, whether it's here on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or another podcasting platform. Feel free to subscribe as well, because I have a lot more videos or podcasts like it. Also, feel free, they're linked in my description, but feel free to follow my socials, right? Conrads_sportscards on both Instagram and TikTok, and I guess Twitter is, actually, no, not Twitter, because that was too long. I couldn't make that my Twitter username. But I do produce a lot more content on those platforms as well, so go ahead and follow me there if you're looking for some other stuff. But that's going to be the end of this video, and once again, I do hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.